Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm Sana Maqbool and here are the top stories that we'll be covering today. The first one is going to be about the Asia Cup final and the kind of lack of sportsmanship that we have seen from the Indian side and the government. The second one is going to take a closer look at the Indian politics and what is going on within the country, how the state is more concerned with the rhetoric that it puts forward instead of what really is going on. And the third story will be about the Pakistan and Saudi Defence Pact, which is very important given the fact that that is something that is historic and needs more focus. These are the three stories that we'll be covering in the debate today. Our first story takes a look at the Asia Cup final. Any cricket final between India and Pakistan has always been historic, regardless of who actually wins. But it wasn't just the match that stole the show, it's also what was the way that this was taken on stage. The Indian team may have won the cup, but they did not win the respect and dignity that the teams win in such finals. From refusing to shaking hands with the Pakistan team to not accepting the trophy from Mohsin Naqvi, the Indian cricket team have shown their true colours. But what can you expect when you have a head of state who links a game of cricket with military operation? Many thought this was a parody account, and stooping this low was perhaps too much for even Prime Minister Modi. Others, including Congress leaders and former Indian cricketers, condemned bringing politics to the sports ground, calling it an act of disrespect to the victims of Belgaum terrorist attack. Mohsin Naqvi also took to the stage and said that if war was a measure of pride, then Pakistan had already given its answer. Nonetheless, the absurdity of BJP and BCCI continues, and India has much more to be shameful of than to celebrate. To talk more about this, we have with us in the guests Senior Analyst Raja Faisal. Thank you very much, Faisal, for joining us in the debate. You've seen what has happened yesterday in Asia Cup, and it's ridiculous the way that the Indian team and even the head of state has actually responded. What's your take on that? Do you think that it's something that they can celebrate given the kind of acts they've done on the ground?
Not at all. You know, whenever we talk about Pakistan versus India, I think I've been watching since the early days when I was like 6-7 years old. I still remember the matches since then. And I have never ever seen this ridiculous behavior from Indians before. This was shambolic, and I think there should be a notice that should be taken by ICC itself. And the reason why I'm saying this, that you could simply say that it was like drowning man catches at a straw. This was the condition. I mean, a person like Modi, who's been Prime Minister of this country since more than 11 years, and he ends up considering it like, oh, it was Operation Sindoor on the games field. It's more like that they were portraying it as if it was part of Operation Sindoor, and Operation Sindoor is still going on, as we have been, of course, listening to him in the processions, in the sermons which he's been delivering to, rallies, election rallies in Bihar or UP. Of course, there is election going on, and there are, of course, rallies, and they have been, claiming that Operation Sindoor is still going on, and they ended up saying that this was part of Operation Sindoor, and somehow we have been successful. And once more, because he categorically highlights in the tweet, and he says that once more we have won. What kind of win you talking about? I mean, are you talking about that you actually won in May 2025 war? No, not at all. The whole world knows about it, and that's why nobody is ready to accept you or ready to invite you in their offices. And that's why you skipped UNGA as well, because you are so embarrassed. You don't want to be at a world stage. Only reason behind it is that you have lost the confidence. Your people have lost confidence in you. And the only reason behind it is that you have miserably failed against Pakistan. And now, just to have a political gimmick going, you just telling your people that, oh, it was part of Operation Sindoor and we have won. And when we talk about BCCI at least they should have been, because cricket is considered as a gentleman's sport.
Yeah.
I have
But there was nothing,
never ever seen
nothing gentlemanly about what happened yesterday.
nothing at all. Since the day one, I mean, we very well know the very first match, the league match, Pakistan came out, and after the match, it was supposed to be a handshake between both of the teams, but they didn't come out.
Yeah.
They simply said that we don't want to have.
Do you
What kind of sportsmanship is
do you
it?
think that something like this has happened before?
Never ever, never ever. It has never ever happened, and I think this was the disastrous day for the cricket. And to me, I think the tradition which has been followed throughout since I've been watching cricket, never ever it happened like this.
Yeah.
And now when it has actually happened, there should be a notice that should be taken out of it. And when we talk about, I mean, not receiving a trophy from our our interior minister, he happens to be, Asian Council's chairperson as well.
Yeah.
So it was him who was supposed to give it by the law. And because it is being, of course, held by Asian Cricket Council.
Yeah.
And no, they don't want to come out. It was such an embarrassing situation, and I was happy.
But shouldn't
that
it be the Indian cricket team that should be embarrassed? Why should it be embarrassing for the tournament? And they should be responsible also in terms of what it is that these teams are doing, and to hold them accountable.
Expecting embarrassment, that they will be embarrassed from the
Is
Indians.
asking for too much.
Oh, it's asking for too much. If they were ever a breed that actually feels embarrassed, they should have embarrassed themselves in May 2025 war. They should have embarrassed themselves when they staged that Pahalgam attack, and it was a false flag attack. Self-wounds, they always, inflict self-wounds to themselves to portray as if Pakistan was behind it, and that's why we are going after Pakistan, and that's why we are conducting some kind of surgical strike. We all remember, Pulwama episode, and then Uri episode, and then there's a movie as well. I mean, nobody knows that Uri was actually replied by India, but Bollywood knows that it was. And when we talk about Pahalgam, when we talk about the previous time,
Yeah.
Pulwama attack, they said that we have avenged, and they came up with this idea. Somehow they'll send MiG-21s, and they'll obviously bomb some places. That's why we call it surgical attack, because it wasn't a surgical attack. There were trees that were actually martyred by them, and they were Pakistani trees. And of course, we kept them very dearly in this, of course, climate change disaster which Pakistan feels. That of course, we always keep them very dearly. But overall, the situation is embarrassment, and expecting from India is too much.
Thank you, Faisal, for joining
Thank you
us
very
and
much.
sharing your time with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're now going to be taking a look at our next segment, but we'll be back after a short break. Well, it's not just the cricket matches where the BJP government is being criticized. It's also what's going on at home in terms of course, the kind of unrest that we have seen and the kind of dissatisfaction that the Indian public is facing, whether it's the rally and the unfortunate tragedy that has resulted in the deaths of more than 40 people in Tamil Nadu as part of a political rally, or it is the protests that are going on in Ladakh. There is a lot of unrest that the BJP government has to deal with, and of course, this is something that the other political parties in the country are also using to criticize this current state of affairs. But whether or not that actually has any lasting impact on what the situation is like on the ground, or of course getting the BJP out of power, remains to be seen. For more on this, we've been joined by Dr. John Dayal, who's an Indian human rights activist. Thank you very much, Dr. John, for joining us and being a part of the discussion today. And I want your take on what you make of what is really going on within India at the moment. It's not the first time that we have seen such political rallies or unrest, and there has been a lot of expression of dissatisfaction against the BJP government. But again, it seems that all of that is successfully shunned down, even if it is widespread.
Of this rally is a great tragedy in terms of the human loss. 40 people have been killed, quite a large number injured. This was the first time that there are stampedes at popular political rallies. It's not the first time there are stampedes in India. Usually they happen at temples where lots of people come and the arrangements are not suitable for them. So, but leaving the tragedy alive, will this rally and this whole event have an impact on national politics and particularly against the government and party of Mr. Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister? I'm afraid not very much because
Yeah.
Captain Vijay, who is a very popular actor, no doubt on that, one of the most popular actors of South India and of India, as a matter of fact, now with dubbing and so, making even Tamil films popular in the north. But in Tamil Nadu politics, as an actor coming into politics in line with other notables that have come in the past, M.G. Ramachandran, J. Jayalalitha, and many others who have come. In fact, Karunanidhi himself was in films. He was a very popular writer, one of the most popular writers in Tamil language. But Captain Vijay ranges himself against the ruling DMK, against Chief Minister Stalin. Chief Minister Stalin, in fact, has emerged as possibly the strongest person after Rahul Gandhi who articulates the who exposes Narendra Modi and stands firm against BJP policies, against the RSS. So if anybody is standing against Stalin in Tamil politics, in effect, even if you say you hate Narendra Modi, in effect, by standing against Stalin, you sort of stand with the forces that support Narendra Modi. And that is good to remember because these deaths will stigmatize Vijay's rally, not very much, but in the short run, it is not likely to be forgotten. And it's an ill omen. Indian politics depends quite a lot on omens. It's not a good omen for his party to have its inaugural current domestic exposure with such a loss of human lives of people who are supporters. So its impact on national politics remains to be seen. I do not think it will he will amount to very much. Stalin is still going strong. If the Congress continues to fare as it is, if Rahul Gandhi continues to be as aggressive as he is, Stalin and Rahul Gandhi will capture Tamil Nadu again, and with that will give a momentum to larger politics, which brings me to the larger
Dr. John,
question. If,
Dr. John, if we focus on what the Congress leaders are saying, and as you mentioned, Rahul Gandhi, do you think that the Congress as a party, not just in Tamil Nadu, but in India in general, is going to be any better off for the people of the country, especially in terms of the kind of issues that the young people have there, the unrest that exists, the communal violence that exists, the unemployment that's there? Do you think that Congress or any other political party other than the BJP can address these issues?
anything but Mr. Modi will be an improvement for India. And I'm not saying it because I don't like the man. That is the general feeling across the country.
Yeah.
The RSS is because it's its 100th year. It is currently occupied with celebrating that and needs Mr. Modi currently as Prime Minister to get government assistance in the celebration. And that assistance is coming in large number. A stamp and a coin in honor of the RSS is such a travesty of the Indian ethos, I would say. And many others would join me in saying that. But that would not have been possible without Mr. Modi at the helm of affairs. So at the moment, in the very, very short run, the BJP will continue to get the support of the RSS. But next year is another year altogether. And Bihar elections are there, and the census operations are to begin, etc., etc. Will the RSS be so aggressively backing Mr. Modi? Remains to be seen. I would say that Rahul Gandhi currently is certainly closing the gap between himself and Mr. Modi. Will the Congress be good for the country? Anybody else? The Congress is not alone. It is going to not rule alone. It's going to be the India where the socialists are in a pretty big number, where South Indians, the Tamil Nadu is going to be in a big number, where the Dalit forces are going to be in a big number. So they will rein in any excess that the Congress may plan. And collectively, I would say there'll be a more benign presence to encourage Indian democracy and the Indian economy. Both have suffered very much in the last decade.
Right. Dr. John, do you think that the change of government in India is going to also change India's interactions with other world leaders, including the US and the Trump administration, and what we've seen in the recent past as well, the kind of shift that perhaps exists? Do you think that that also has to do with who's sitting in power in India?
Not every international measure that the BJP government took was bad for India. It's
Okay.
correct game, I would say, in not being very aggressive on China, despite being a member of Quad, shows a certain sagacity which goes beyond party politics. You cannot afford to antagonize China. When Congress or India or whatever else comes into power, if BJP goes out of power, they would also want to have the same alignment with China. With America, things will be on an even keel. They will, I think, be more ideologically based, more issue based, and not personality based. There's not going to be a question of Mr. Modi is such a close personal friend of Mr. Donald Trump, and therefore India and America will be always on even keel. I think diplomacy, international relations, equity, the international economy, creating a bilateralism on the international plane and not a very unilateral, unipolar world system. All those things are more likely if Mr. Modi is not in power.
And what about the way that we have seen regional developments also take place, particularly when we take a look, you mentioned China, of course, but Pakistan's relationship with other countries, including Saudi Arabia. Where do you think that that nexus fits in the way that India is looking outward in the region?
Pakistan's current mutual defense pact has surprised India a bit, I would say. But Saudi Arabia has a very close relationship with India. You can't do that. And how will Saudi Arabia, how will its prime minister and heir apparent balance this, having a close tie with India, which also it needs as much as it needs Pakistan on issues of Iran and other things of that region. But Saudi Arabia cannot afford to totally be hostile to India. Saudi Arabia will, the kingdom will continue to be close to the US. So there are many modifying factors in that relationship, which to that extent lessen the shock of Saudi Arabia Pakistan Mutual Defense Pact. As I was saying, I think a change in government in India in the next general elections will stabilize international relations and make them and base them on economy, on history, on what is good for the Indian state, as much as what is good for the Indian people.
Absolutely, and that is the hope. Thank you very much, Dr. John Dayal, for joining us and being part of the discussion. And leading on to, of course, where the regional dynamics are taking us, we'll go on to our next story that focuses on this particular defense pact that we just mentioned with Dr. John. Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, of course, have signed this, but it remains to be seen how exactly this will pan out in terms of actual actions that can be taken, and where do the opportunities and key challenges lie into making this truly feasible for both the countries. And for that, we've been joined in the studios by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi Thank you, Farrukh, for joining us in the studios today. And I'd love to have your take first on where do you think that this particular defense pact actually fits in terms of both the bilateral relations between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, and then in the larger regional context, keeping India and China and the US in mind.
Right. Thank you very much, Sana, for the question. I think that first of all, regarding your question, how it is going to pan out, one thing that is clear is there are elements of hope already, because the cooperation existed long before Pakistan signed this agreement. Pakistani forces have been deployed in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is one of our closest allies. They have always come to our rescue whenever we needed it, and Pakistan has been deploying its forces for quite some time. That is not all. When it comes to the two holy mosques, there also Pakistan has played a very important role year in, year out. So I think that already there is enough architecture to tell us that it is going to pan out well. Now, regarding key challenges and the problems that are there, I will come to the strengths later. But first, let us look at the possible obstacles. One is, of course, India. And given the way India has been actually trying to lobby everybody against Pakistan, so that is not going to go away. That factor has been there for quite some time, and it is going to continue. But then the fact is that India cannot provide Saudi Arabia with whatever Pakistan can. Pakistan has given full assurance that we are going to stand with you no matter what, and that's why it is a comprehensive defense agreement. In coming days, what Pakistan is going to do is Pakistan is going to dedicate itself to ensuring that this agreement actually operationalizes. That said, of course, there are other challenges, sometimes expectations, sometimes the worldviews could clash, but I don't think that is going to happen any longer either. I think that the greatest thing about this agreement is Pakistan has always, existed in more than one region. Pakistan is a key part of South Asia, but then we have this outreach towards Central Asia via Afghanistan. And when it comes to Pakistan and the Middle East or the Gulf countries, Pakistan has always been very close. And initially when Pakistan joined SEATO and CENTO agreements like that, at that time also Pakistan's stated objective was to provide security to Gulf states. And that seems to be actually solidified with this agreement. On the other side, of course, both sides have their limitations. Saudi spent somewhere around $80 billion on their security and defense, but of course their fighting forces lesser in number, and of course is not that much experience. Pakistan spends only $9 billion up to an estimate. But Pakistan's experience, Pakistan is a battle-hardened country, and there wasn't any time in my memory that Pakistan was not facing a conflict or a challenge. So because of that, Pakistan's ability to provide security cover to Saudi Arabia is great. And then Saudi Arabia has many other strengths that Pakistan lacks. For example, Pakistan does not have the kind of soft power that Saudi Arabia has or the kind of monies that Saudi Arabia has. So when we work together, we can do magic. And remember that this is also an interesting combination of two ecosystems. Pakistan of late has drifted towards Chinese technology, as we keep on talking, and Saudi Arabia mainly has been importing from the US. So now when both forces complement each other, it is going to be a magical combination of the best of two worlds.
Absolutely. But when we take a look at what all this pact entails, it's not defense, it's also economic in nature, and the kind of investments that we can see coming in from Saudi Arabia, and of course what Pakistan can also achieve on that ground. Where do you think, especially when we talk about the public investment funds and then the fact that Saudi Arabia can and is already exploring in perhaps the mineral sectors and other sectors, how do we actually capitalize on these opportunities?
Yeah, actually for that you'll have to complement the current leadership of the country and then SIFC. diplomacy, because it has been playing a very key role in exploring Pakistan's potential. And by the way, it goes beyond the current lucky streak. Remember that since May we have this lucky streak. First it was May, what happened, then we saw Saudi Pact, and now we have seen the recent visit of the Prime Minister and the army chiefs to White House as well. So that I can call lucky streak. But despite that, these institutions like SIFC have been exploring various avenues where investment can be made. One is, as you pointed out, rare earths and various such resources. And then, of course, when it comes to Pakistan, sky is the limit, by the way. You can infrastructure, you can also invest in property, you can invest in manufacturing. There is no limit to it. Remember that Pakistan, what has happened is India not actually, when we talk about May 10th and whatever was being talked about, Pakistan in the past 20 years was continuously being eclipsed by India, because India, Pakistan were not fighting and nobody had tested water. So already everybody had accepted that India is the net security provider in the region. But that edifice came down with May 10th. Because of that, now people are taking a look, and then because you know what happens with cancer. I'm sorry I'm calling India cancer, but what happens with cancer is that cancer, one cell actually starts absorbing the nutrition of everybody around it. See, other countries, whenever they have taken off, their regional partners have also taken off. But India is one so-called potential great power that keeps on sucking the lifeblood out of all its neighbors. That's why all opportunities went to India, went elsewhere, but did not come to Pakistan. Now, because that eclipse has ended, there is going to be humongous investment, not only from Saudi Arabia. I'm hoping that other Gulf countries will also force similar kind of ties. And then, of course, we are part of CPEC, and then there is American outreach that is coming also. So there's going to be huge opportunities. What I am really interested in, Sana, and every time our leaders go abroad, I say we need compute, we need cooperation in AI.
Absolutely, and I was just going to build on that, because there's also, of course, a lot of importance in terms of local production, and the fact that there needs to be a way forward in collaborating on that front as well. So in terms of doing that and then enabling technology transfer to occur, especially given the fields of AI, where do you think we can go on that? Because Saudi Arabia, of course, has already advanced a lot on that front.
Yeah, I haven't actually studied how much they have actually built their own computer, their own network in AI, but I know that they have been actually importing a lot of AI equipment, and they have access to some of the best technologies. So if they have really built the critical infrastructure, Pakistan can build on that, and there can be collaboration in that context also.
Will that be easy to share, or there's no hindrance in sharing that?
Why not? Look, there's one thing is for sure, when you talk about wealth, individual wealth, Saudi Arabia has humongous wealth, right? And money actually opens all the wallets, and all the vaults actually, and all the excesses. So in coming days, what Saudi Arabia has done, and UAE also partly has done, is getting access to prized technology. That, if you remember the list of export controls on the countries that were given access to, GPUs or high-tech GPUs, Pakistan and India were not there, right? But Arab countries are, amazingly, because they're rich. So now, through that and building confidence, and by the way, recently when Prime Minister met with President Trump, one of the things that he told us on the media was that America is ready to share that technology as well. Of course, there was always this fear that technology coming to Pakistan can be taken, as the Indian propaganda goes, end up in China or something like that. But amazingly, because China has already banned that technology in China. So if it comes to Pakistan, it is safe. It is going to help only those countries that are going to be involved, nobody else. So I think that is a great opportunity, because in coming days, everything, is going to have a component of AI.
Absolutely.
You know, we keep on talking about various superpowers that are going to be there. AI has these 4 or 5 superpowers that are very interesting. Infinite reach through cellular technology, right? It can reach anywhere. Infinite processing power because of clouds. Also infinite saving, you know, memory also because of, again, you know, the very same thing that is, you know, call center is a center, data center, sorry.
Yeah.
Then it has 3D printing. Through that, you are going to totally revolutionize, you know, manufacturing. And finally, of course, when you talk about it, it has the kind of ability to connect itself to other, you know, AIs if possible.
Reminds me of Thronglets.
Yeah, that. But there is huge possibility, and I think that Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have chosen the best moment. Because 2 major powers or influential powers in the region, either both regions, have gone totally out of control, India and Israel. So we working together ensure that no matter what, Saudi Arabia will not come under attack. And through that, Pakistan also builds its economic chops.
Yeah.
And Pakistan also builds its capacity to help everybody.
Right. When we take a look at this Defence Pact and when it was signed, it's also in the aftermath of what happened with regards to Doha and then, of course, the Arab Islamic Summit. And it's also important to take a look at what that would mean in terms of whether this can be translated to other countries, not just with Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, but other countries doing that amongst themselves as well, and to target the Israeli expansionist designs. Do you think that other such pacts can follow suit, or that there can be a larger collaboration network between the Arab and Gulf states?
Yeah, this latter example is of an Arab or Muslim NATO, right?
Yes.
So regarding individual, look, I've been hearing various voices from the administration. Of course, there are some who say that this pact can be joined by others. And my point is that Saudi-Pakistani relationship is such that it will be difficult to renegotiate whatever has been written on the paper, right? We are totally committed to each other. But every new agreement that you actually write helps you in fine-tuning according to that country, right? Now, this is what I think, and of course, there's a possibility of a Muslim NATO beyond this agreement also. But then let us talk about the countries that might be interested and which countries are likely to sooner actually enter into similar kind of agreement, because it has been accepted that Pakistan has a role to play and other countries can benefit also.
Yeah.
So my main focus is GCC countries, right, which are 6 countries: Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, and Kuwait. So in that, there are countries which are neutral. There are those which are slightly more aligned towards AI, UAE, and there are others which are closer to Saudi Arabia. Bahrain is one country that is thought to be very close to UAE, right? When it comes to Qatar and Kuwait, they are thought to be the pragmatist. The rest, of course, will go with Saudi Arabia. So the pragmatist and pro-Saudi or Saudi-leaning will automatically, very quickly, I am expecting they are going to join. But when it comes to UAE, it has actually really flourished in the past many months, many years, right? Especially since they signed the Abraham Accords and they actually went with various things. India invested hugely in India, and of course with the Adani Corporation also. So we still have to see how they are going to recalibrate, because you know, yesterday there was a meeting between, yesterday or day before yesterday, there was a meeting between their foreign minister and Benjamin Netanyahu. So that was quite interesting also, although it was a communication that these are red lines and you shouldn't cross them. But at least it was seen as a kind of olive branch also by some, that you are somebody is isolated and you're reaching out to them.
Yeah.
So we still have to see how they collaborate, but my assumption, Sana, is that one by one everybody is going to join us, because other countries like Israel, or for that matter India, cannot supply them with the kind of support that they might need. Particularly when it comes to Israel also, there seems to be one thing for sure. Israel did something incredibly stupid for its own sake. One, they first go, and everybody was concerned how Iran is going to pose a threat or a challenge.
Yeah.
They went and degraded its defenses. So all of a sudden it is off the table. Now what else remains? There's only one bully in that region, it is Israel. And then what Israel does is, first it keeps on attacking other countries, but then all of a sudden it attacks a GCC country, that is Qatar. The moment that happens, everybody starts seeing Israel as a net threat, a direct threat. Because of that, I think every country, and by the way, Qatar also has this humongous American base, but even then, that attack was not thwarted. So everybody thinks that they need a regional partner. It cannot be Israel. The US is going to provide a broader umbrella, but in the end, it is going to be Pakistan.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for joining us and being part of the discussion today. That was, of course, our discussion on what is going on with regards to Pakistan and Saudi Arabia's Defence Pact. The crux of the matter is that there is, of course, a lot that remains to be seen as to what can be capitalized on, the kind of opportunities and challenges that remain. But it is for sure that Pakistan is an important player in the region. And when we take a look at particularly what is going on and developing in the dynamics, there is a lot of concern that India has in terms of not only what is going on inside its borders, but how it is being viewed both by the region and internationally as well, and as was obvious by the recent measures that have been taken by the Trump administration. They can do and say all they can about what goes on the ground in a cricket match, but they're only putting more stuff for them to think about and more difficulties for them on ground, and that is something that they cannot win just by words. What has happened with regards to, of course, the Asia Cup is definitely shameful, and it's something that we must all ponder in terms of where it is that India is actually heading towards. That is, of course, concerning, but what is really concerning is that that is echoed by the head of the state of India as well, and something that also reflects both in terms of the way that the governance exists at home and in their foreign policy decisions. At the same time, Pakistan has been flourishing and putting out the efforts that are required, not just in the sports ground, but also in terms of diplomacy, in terms of foreign channels and bilateral relationships, as is obvious by the Defence Pact from Saudi Arabia. Just one example of Pakistan's historic relationships with not only its neighborhood, but other key international players such as the US. That's all that we have from the show today, and this is, of course, the main stories that we'll be covering today, and that was the crux of the matter, but we'll be back for more tomorrow with more news from around the world. Stay tuned.